just like we're talking about the difference between intensity and intentionality, I think it's also important to talk about the difference between discipline and strategy, right? Like the discipline, that's what's going to get you out of debt, because like, okay, you set a budget, you follow it for months, maybe years, and that discipline of staying consistent with it, that's what's going to help you get out of debt or build up your emergency fund or get good at consistently investing for retirement, right? But that discipline's only going to take you so far. Like discipline alone, I think discipline's a huge part of everyone's success journey, but that's not like the end of the story, right? Like it's not like, oh, I'm just disciplined and now I'm good, right? It's like, no, discipline also has to be paired with strategy moving forward to actually help you get to that next level. And so, Lauren, when you think of like your own financial journey, like where was the moment that you realized that like, if I'm just disciplined, it's not going to get me as far as if I pair that with also having a strategy for that discipline to work through, I guess?
I think this first came into play whenever I started my debt-free journey, because I had, I think I've said it on this podcast many times, but like I was just sort of in like a weird spot in my 20s, like just feeling sorry for myself because I wasn't making much money. I had my student loans, my car payment, and just kind of feeling weird. But then I was like, and then I think I've also said many times that like the reason I stepped into my debt-free journey is because I was going to buy a house with like ultimately no money, which was insane. But so I stepped into my debt-free journey, and that's whenever I did pair that discipline with a strategy to actually get out of debt. Now you can strategize all day to get out of debt, and we can make somebody a debt-free plan, but are they going to stick with it? So I think that's where those two pieces came together. And once I had a plan and matched with my discipline, which I have really great discipline, I thank that my gymnastics background for that. Those two things combined helped me pay off my debt in like 2.5 years, because I had a plan to do so. And I also had the discipline to make it happen. This also, I think, happened for me once I was on the other side of my debt-free journey. Then I was more on like the strategy side of things, because now again, it's not like, it is super disciplined, but you can more automate things. You can send money into your retirement accounts like automatically without thinking about it. But that's where I had to get a little bit more strategy on my side, because now I'm playing the long game, right? Now I'm debt-free. I want to grow my investment accounts. Like I need to, when I was done with my debt-free journey, I was 31, and I was like, I'm behind, I think I'm okay, but like, I was like, I'm behind on my investment account. So now I need to strategize to, play this more long-term game of my, long-term investing goals. So
yeah, the strategy part is coming up with that plan, and then now that you have the plan, like, okay, now the discipline can continue to kick in, and you can really work that plan. But like this whole conversation of like discipline and strategy, like it really got me thinking about like when I first started investing. And I remember when I first opened up like a Roth IRA, I was like, this is like the coolest account ever. Like I'm not gonna have to pay taxes on it. And I remember I was like, all right, I want to commit myself to like an amount that I can just consistently put in here every single month. And this was like at the beginning, this was like right when I got out of college, and so like to me at the time, $100 a month was like, that feels like I'm really doing something, and like granted, for some people, like doing $100 a month is a great starting point. It was a great starting point for me, and like doing that over and over, that's what built up the discipline of like, all right, this is just another bill in my head, like it just has to get paid, and I'm not gonna see I'm not going to see what that grows into anytime soon, but it's coming with a belief that that's going to pay off in the future. But as I started taking my finances more seriously, especially like thinking about the future retirement planning, it was like, all right, discipline of just let me just throw money in there is not going to get me exactly where I need to be. So like I had to pair that with a strategy of really figuring out, all right, what do I actually need for retirement? How can I break that into a specific number? And then I can work my way backwards into an exact amount that I need to be contributing, And so it kind of like, that's where the discipline met strategy in my mind. And that was like kind of one of the biggest examples I can think of, because it was like the discipline part of it was just sticking with it. And the strategy part is now like, okay, now I'm sticking with it, but now I actually feel like I know what I'm doing,
Yeah. This is really funny. I don't know why I just thought of this. Well, it's because you're talking about a Roth IRA. So I think I've passed down some of my financial knowledge to my niece. She is in her like early 20s, just got out of college, has her first time, first job and things like that. And I've obviously preached open a Roth IRA, put $50 a month into it if you can right now. She's saving for a wedding and stuff, so she's got money going elsewhere, but she's putting $50 a month into her Roth IRA. However, she's missing the strategy piece. I've told her many times, like, we need to get together and invest that money, because I knew she was putting it in there, but I don't think she had it invested. So after I bothered her a few times, I was just with her when I was back home, and we got on her app and we actually did invest the money into the S&P 500. Finally,
Nice.
she had like $800. She had like $800 in there, and she's like, it's like you say, it's only $800. And I was like, listen, if you're getting this return on XYZ, like you're missing out on a lot of money here. So. But yeah, that just made me think about it whenever you're talking about the Roth IRA and having a strategy, because she has the discipline, but she was kind of lacking the strategy piece.
Oh, 100%. And like full transparency, like I'm the youngest of all of my siblings, but obviously when I married my wife, she has younger sisters. And so now it was like, now I had sister-in-laws who are younger than me that like, they know I'm all about finances. And so when they asked me, I'm like, hey, let's open you up like a Roth IRA as soon as possible. Like they were working just like random jobs through college. And I'm like, hey, if you can put $50 or $100, like you said, like just enough to build up that discipline of just doing it consistently, even if it's not like a big part of your world, right? It's just money going in there. Like, oh man, that's going to get you so far. And then like that next level is showing them, all right, hey, if you do this in 30 or 40 years, this is what it's going to grow to. And if you added to that, right? Even if you just doubled what you were doing, which from $50 to $100 is not that much, of someone's world to think about. Like, look how much more it can actually grow to. And so I don't know. I think that's a really exciting moment when people kind of make that, start to see like, okay, like now that I'm being disciplined, like how can the strategy actually really improve what I'm doing and get me so much further?
The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.